Welcome back. This is Jeff Byers. This is ANY150 and this is Module 3, and we are working on Video 4, Part 4 of the Battle Axe. And what we're going to do today is, in this video, is we're going to go ahead and delete this side so we can mirror it over to this other side over here. So let's go ahead and go to the top view. Make sure you please save your scene before you do this in case something goes wrong. And I will do that now. So go ahead and File, Save Scene As, and save in a sequence like we've been talking about. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Control 1, which isolates the object, so Control 1. So before you do this, I'm going to show you something that's very interesting. I'm going to go and do Control 1 now. If you do Control 1, it doesn't do it throughout all the viewports. You just need to go to each one and do Control 1 if you want to isolate it. Now, something before you mirror it over is that you need to make sure that you're happy with what you have. Okay, what I mean by that is make sure that the object is as smooth as you want it to be. Move vertices around, do what you need to do. Now, keep in mind that this is still low poly, but there's a couple techniques that I use that can help you. One is you want to try to make these edges as flat as possible, and things get a little wonky when you are doing, like when you do some of the things that I was doing. Okay, so a lot of times you just need to go back there and just tweak some vertices around. It's nothing more than that. Okay, and just move them around to get them flat or whatever you need to do. I have no idea what your model will look like, but if it's close to looking like mine, it should be okay, should be fine. You may want to just go ahead and go to the side view. I don't know if that will help you at all on some of these curved pieces here to see where you're at with the line, lining things up. Those are things you just need to kind of get them lined up the best you can. Now, the farther it goes forward, though, it's going to look like this, right, from the side view. Okay, and the farther it's over this way, it needs to be flat. So just keep that in mind when you're working. Alright, so with that said, that's what makes this this so difficult to create, is that you were working in different axes. And I'm going to move this forward just a little bit like that. There we go. And move this forward just a little bit too. There we go. Kind of keep that nice and straight and smooth if we can. There we go. And I'm going to hit the 3 key again and just kind of go into this mode and just kind of look at it with the 3 key on, and I'm pretty happy with that. If you do see some irregularities and you would like to try the sculpting tool, again, make sure you save your work so you can go back to it if it does turn out poorly, right? If it doesn't turn out very nice. I'm not too worried about all this wonkiness here. That can be fixed later, right? Right now this is the low poly, so it doesn't really matter. But the high poly we're going to have to fix and kind of manipulate it so it works a little bit better. But the low poly is what usually goes into the game engine, and we can have triangles. It's not a problem. High poly, we do not want these triangles, so we're going to have to figure out a way to fix those. So the high poly will have some work to do. But anyway, so if you have something that doesn't look very good, or let's just say, I'm going to go in here and let me save my scene really quick before I do anything, and you should do the same thing as well. Always save your scene when you do something major or use a different tool, okay? So you can come back to it, open it back up if you make a mistake. Alright, so the idea here is that you'll select your object, hit the 3 key, and go into Mesh Tools, go into Sculpting Tools, and go into the Smooth tool. Okay. The two that I love the best, that I love the most, if I'm not actually pulling and pushing vertices, I just want to smooth things out. Let's say I got a crease or something I don't like. You can use the Smooth or the Relax tool. Let me show you how I would use the Smooth tool. All right, so that round circles the brush size. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I can make that bigger or smaller. I want to make that smaller, and it basically smooths out vertex per vertex. Okay. So right now I didn't click on the option box. So to do that, okay, so sculpting tools, go into the smooth tool and click on the option box. Okay, this opens up your tool settings, which you need. Okay, the strength is at 100%, or excuse me, yeah, 100. And we want to make it like, basically you want to start at something really low, like 0.1, and hit enter. Okay, I can go in there and just start smoothing it out. Now if you don't see a big difference, that's okay. It's not supposed to be a big difference. It's supposed to be very subtle. Okay, that's the idea. Okay, you can see that it is working, but it's very subtle, and you can see that it's just, I'm just kind of going over the whole thing in the front. Okay. Okay, so you can see that it's just, you know, if it's set too high, it will be a problem. So we had it at 0.1, and that's really, really low. And so you can go up from there, obviously. So let's do something like maybe 10 instead of 100, and start off with that. And so you can see that my brush size is too big, so I'm going to go ahead and scale that down. Sometimes you have to zoom out and then scale your brush. I'm holding the B key down to scale. You can see that that's making changes, and it's making changes. It's too much as far as I'm concerned. It's just making it's, you know, you really have to have creased geometry to really benefit from a higher strength. So I'm gonna go in here and get all that back again. I prefer to go something that's a lot less than that. Start around 10 and then work your way up and just go slow. I usually go even lower than that depending on the size and the scale, okay, of the object. I try to keep away from having to use the smooth tools. You can get you in a lot of trouble too if you don't know how to use these tools properly. Like, again, do not start with a high strength, because it can really cause some problems and issues. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and show you one more, and this is the relax tool. I use this a lot too. If I have any pinching or any problems with that, let's go back in there, and I need to go into the option box to see the settings. Okay, so size is 0.132, and the strength needs to be lowered, like maybe 2. Okay, and basically what that's going to do is it's going to average those vertices out, and that could be all, you know, maybe that's all you're looking for, is just to average those vertices out. Okay, I know you don't see much of a difference, but it does make a difference. It does average them out. Let's go ahead and go all the way up to 100 strength. Okay, now you can see it's averaging those vertices out, good or bad, right? Meaning that you know, it can be bad and it can be good, and unfortunately if I go too high, it can be bad. Alright, so again, I'm going to hit the Q key to get out of the tool. And I just wanted to show that to you. You can experiment, have some fun with it. The whole idea though is you get this transition here smoother, and if you can't do it by hand, then use the sculpting tool to help you. It's okay to use the sculpting tool, but just beware that you may run into issues if it does go haywire. It will literally move vertices around, right? So you can see here that's off. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my original piece in that I saved before I did the sculpting. That's the reason why I did it. Here we go. And what I'm going to do now is we're going to move forward now. We're going to cut this in half. We're going to mirror that over and get all this set up. So the blade will be done, and then we're going to work on the wrap. So we're going to work on the handle wrap. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to isolate select, so Control 1 on the top, and then in the perspective I'm going to do Control 1 as well. Okay. Alright, so from the top view, let's go in here and let's just go ahead and cut that in half. So let's cut this exactly in half, just like that, and delete. Now we're just doing that, half of that, and you can see that everything looks pretty good. Right, and we got to make sure that this is centered properly. So from the front view, I'm just going to go ahead and do select that object and do a Control 1 so we don't have anything else in the way. And I think we put this in the center Okay, if you didn't, you have to select your vertices, okay, and you need to snap those in the center, and you need to go into the move tool and move snap settings and turn that retain component off and click on the grid snap, and you can move it back and forth, and then when you move it back, you're good to go. You can do that to the top too, just to make sure that everything's set up properly. So I'm going to select just this side like that, and I'm going to move it forward and then move it back again, and then we know that everything's set up properly. Okay, so there's two things we're going to do. We're going to mirror that over to this side, and then we're going to take this object and then mirror it over in the negative value. Okay, so right now we're in the positive value of x, and over here we're in the positive value of z. Okay, so I modeled in the positive value of x and the positive value of z, and this is what you need to kind of note. If you're modeling it towards a different axes, I always model to the z, towards the z axis. At the left-hand corner, you'll see that if I move down, you can see the z is pointing towards me. Okay, and that's the model's pointing towards me. So whenever you model, just make sure you get yourself situated in the right axes. Okay, if it's not, you can rotate this pretty easily, right? You can just rotate it in any axis you want. Another thing I wanted to show you too is that if you don't want to just rotate and then have to finish it off here, you can rotate every 45-degree angles. Okay, so I'm going to go Control Z back. There we go. And you can double click on the rotate tool, and in here you can go to let's see, rotate step snap to relative, and we're going to do 45 degrees. You can do any degrees you want. You can do 15 degrees if you want to, or 45. I just do 45. So I click on that and it's relative, so we're good to go, and you can close it, and now you got relative, and it will snap for you. So if I need to rotate that, I'm going to keep that on now from now on, and just remember that you can turn it off easily by going in here and turning that to off. Okay, alright, cool. So we don't need to rotate it right now. Alright, so next thing we're going to do is we need to make sure, once we make sure that is all smooth and we're okay with that, the next thing we're going to do is we need to get the pivot point properly set. Okay, now the pivot point is set correctly. It's in the center, and from the front view it doesn't matter, it's set in the center as well, from the top view and the front view. So those are all set. What if it wasn't? You make sure you have the grid snap on and hold the D key and snap it until it snaps in the center on the front, and then center of the scene right here, 0, 0, 0, XYZ. That needs to be set at 0. Okay, and you can hit the D key and move it and bring it back again if you want to. Alright, so it's all set. Once you let go of the D as in David, the D key, then you're good to go. It will basically go back to normal. Okay, and if you hit D key again, you can tell the difference between letting off and then pushing the D key. Alright, so let's go ahead and mirror this now. It should be set up and good to go. Let's go ahead and delete the history. So under poly modeling, go ahead and delete history, and we're good to go. So let's go ahead and get all that taken care of. Shouldn't take too long. So we want to go to mesh, and we want to go to mirror. Now the first one we're going to do is having it go back. So this is going to be the z-axis negative. Okay, we're going to leave it as is and then mirror that over. Okay, something wonky happened. I'm not sure why it did that. Now if you get kind of weirdness like that, and this is what I was talking to you about with the mirror tool, it's not that I don't like the mirror tool. It does wonky stuff like this. That's not what it's supposed to do. So I'm going to click off and go Control Z back. There we go. And what it did was it grabbed something from here and decided to merge it over. I think this might be because of the threshold. Okay, of the mirroring tool. So if that happens to you, if that happened to you, we're going to have to do it a different way. There's no fixing that. Okay, I'm going to go in here, go to mesh and then mirror. And you can see it cuts geometry, mirror in the world. How about if we try object? Okay, mirror axis, position object. Let's try that. That's what, you know, it went from world. Let's go to object. And so combine with the original, yes. Merge border vertices, yes. And if this does it again, does that error, then we're going to go in here to do not merge borders, because I think it's the merging process. Now merge threshold. This should be set up like 0.001. That is so low. Maybe we should just put on custom, right? Let's try that. Let's go to world. Do custom. Automatic, it had a problem with threshold. Let's try this and mirror it. And there it goes. It worked. Okay, so that threshold was the position. The automatic was not working. So if that happens to you, make sure you turn that off, and I'll show you again here real quick. Alright, so we've got that. We go into mesh and we go to mirror, and you can see that if we have automatic, it had an issue with the threshold and it was merging vertices together. So let me do it again. See, it pulled these vertices because they were too close together, these two. Which is funny because these are way farther apart than these two, right? So that makes no sense. So that's not working properly. So what you want to do then is, and you can't fix it, you have to change the settings. So let's go in here, and so now we're going to go into custom, and now we can tell it exactly the distance we want, and that's, you know, really small distance, meaning that it'd have to be that close to each other for it to weld. Okay, let's go ahead and click on mirror. So we're good there. And it's one piece, and it's all the vertices have been welded, which is cool. So I'm going to go to vertex, and I'm just going to double check that. Now you're probably wondering how I got this heads-up display right here. Okay, so to get that, it shows me the vertices and all the polygons and faces that I have. You want to go to display, heads-up display, and go into poly count. Okay, you can also turn it off if you don't want it, but usually when I'm modeling, I keep it on. Okay, so that's all good, and it split it up just exactly the way I wanted. I know I'm gonna have to fix these. You know, this is not a point. Let's go ahead and make that a point really quick before I mirror that over, because that will look kind of strange. Whoops. Let's turn off the grid snap. Turn it off. There we go. And then move that down a little bit, just a little bit, like that. Okay. Or, you know, what we could do is move it down a little bit and like this, and make it a little bit more round at the bottom. If you want to do that, it's up to you how you want that to look. Let's try that instead. Alright, now we're going to go in here. Now we're good to go. Let's go ahead and delete by type history. You can see we're getting quite the history build up here on the side. And so I'm going to click on delete history. Do that every so often. And so now we're going to mirror it over to in the X. Okay. So now we're going to go to mesh, and we're going to go to mirror, and this time we're going to go to X. I'm going to keep merge threshold custom on, because to keep us from having issues with it kind of, you know, grabbing vertices and welding them together that we don't want to be welded. So let's go ahead and click on mirror. There we go. Wow, that's looking really good now. Okay. Alright, sweet. So that looks awesome. Okay. So now I'm going to hit the 3 key and see what that looks like. That's looking really good. Alright, cool. Very happy with that. So how does it look with the pole? Let's go ahead and Control 1. It's really coming together now. Okay. Now if this looks a little too thick here, you know, you can always change that. Let's go into vertex mode, and let's just select these. Actually, let's go ahead and select the marquee selection or the lasso tool. So I'm just going to go in here and select these right here, like that. And all I'm going to do is just use this scale tool and just scale it in. that, just like that. Now, if that's too much, you could do this. You could scale it in a little bit, and then you can go down to here, marquee select that, and scale that in a little bit more, and that might look a little bit better. There we go. And that does. That does look a little bit better. Okay. Alright, cool. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move down to the leather straps, and we're going to really focus on this part. So what I want to do with the top headpiece, or the blade, I'm going to hit the Q key, select it, delete by type history again, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate that. So I'm going to control D, okay? I'm going to create a new layer and put this in there. So this is going to be the blade, and we're going to call this original. Okay. Alright, so save that, and then we can turn that off. And I'm going to make another duplicate of this, so control D and make another one, and we're going to call this blade duplicate. So if we make mistakes, we're not going to lose all this work. And we're going to call this DUP for duplicate. Alright, save that and turn that off. Alright, so that's done. And so then we want to just add this to a layer, and we're going to call this blade low poly. That's a lot of work, I know. Blade and then low poly. Alright, so that basically is it for the blade. Let's turn that off. And so with the pole, okay, the pole looks good. So what we're going to do with the poles, we're going to duplicate that too. So control D, okay, and we're going to put this in a layer, okay, and we're going to call this, let's call this original. And let's call this handle. Okay, alright, and let's turn that off. Let's click it again and duplicate it, control D, and put it in another layer, and double click on the layer, and we're going to call this hand straps. There we go. Let's get an underscore in there. Okay, hand straps, and then save it. There we go. Cool. And let's see what else we're going to do. So that's it. So we're going to turn that off, and then this will be the low poly. So let's go ahead and create a new layer for that one. That's the last one. Double click on that, and handle low poly. Okay, perfect. And turn that off. So we want to do hand straps. Alright, so this is going to be our hand straps, and we're going to turn that on. Okay, so that's going to be the straps that we hang on to. Otherwise this pull, if your hands get really sweaty, will slip off. Okay, they become very slippery. So what we're going to do is we're going to recreate those straps. Okay, how do you go about doing that? Because there's a couple ways. You could go in here and create a curve and manipulate that curve all the way down, just like the strap would look. But that would take forever. You could use Quad Draw and draw your straps in one by one on the surface of this, and that would work too. That would work good, but that also would take a lot of time. Okay, and then we got the crisscrosses and all that other stuff. So what we want to do is we want to basically fake this. Okay, we want to fake how this looks, and we're going to make a mess out of this. By the way, we're going to make a huge mess, and basically we're not going to take those approaches at all. I'm going to take you on a different road because of my experience. I'm going to take you through a way that just creatively it's way faster, and it will work just fine, and we'll get that same look. Okay, we'll fake that look. So here we go. I need to have this unisolated, control 1, so we can see where the straps are on this side like that, and then click and right click and go to selection mode, and we're gonna go make sure you're all set up in here, and then from this view I'm going to take you through the multi-cut tool. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and right mouse button over the object. That's the Shift key and the right mouse button. And you'll see this pop up. And we're going to be using the multi-cut. I've been showing you the Insert Edge Loop tool. We're going to use the multi-cut. Okay. Alright, so with the multi-cut tool, if you hold down your left mouse button anywhere on an edge, it will create a point. Okay, and then it's just now waiting for you to continue that. So I'm going to click on this, and I can hold down the left mouse button and slide it. Okay, now if I just click, it will create it, right? It will create the line where I want it to go. And you can see how powerful this can be, right? Multi-cut tool. It's pretty amazing, actually. I can go in here and make these lines. Now, there's a point where it might get stuck, so you just you got to click on it and hold your left mouse button down, and you can slide it, right? And you have to experiment with this. Okay, and come all the way around and get back where we need to go. Okay. Okay. Whoops. Something happened right here. See, there's like a double ghost or something. Hit the backspace key, and then I'm going to try this again. I'm going to move that down, then up, and then down, and then up, and then go back here. I can start over again. Click on this one. Let's try it. It won't let me do it. So let's you got to move your hold your Alt key and just move around with your left mouse button until it wants to do it, and then you can snap it back again. Look at that. So now I can hit the Enter key to set it. Look at that. So we can actually create those straps by doing that. Okay. So all right. So it's really cool. It's a really great tool. All right. So I'm gonna go back. Control Z back. Hit the Q key. Okay. So there's another way you can use it, which is really interesting. It's from the front view. Let's go ahead and get the isolation back again. Click on the object. Okay, and we're going to go into selection mode, and I'm going to zoom in here. Okay, now I'm going to try something different and show you something different with the multi-cut tool. So with that selected, I'm going to hold the Shift key down and the right mouse button, go to multi-cut, and this time instead of clicking on that piece right here, I'm going to just cut across like that, just like that. And look how it cuts all the way through. Well, it should. Where's it at? I don't see it. It shows it here. That's interesting. Let me try it again. It's like it's not updating. But I'm going to go just kind of follow those lines across here, like that. I'm just holding my left mouse button until I get across. Just following that. Like that. Okay. And then you see that strap right there. I can kind of go up and kind of mimic that strap like that if I need to. Okay, like that. I'm just kind of experimenting. Alright, so I'm going to hit the Q key, and for some reason, oh, there it is. Okay, so there it is. Look at that. Very cool, huh? Very cool. I think it's cool. And that's kind of how we're going to make our straps. And you're thinking to yourself, well, we'll have to see about that, you know. But it's one of those things that you have to try it, give it a shot, and then you can make a judgment on what you would like to do. Now, again, this is the fastest, easiest way that I know of faking this type of technique. You know, just faking it. Let's go back. Okay, so another way is, like I showed you, to do it one by one. So you could go in here and get started. So I would go into the front view, right? Get the front view, and hold the Shift key down, the right mouse button, and get multi-cut started, and get your first line set up right here. And then you can go down and kind of get that angle, right? And then you would go all the way around, and you can see how that can kind of be, would take forever, wouldn't it? I mean, it's just and you're not exactly sure where you're at either. You might be, see, I'm too low now, and it doesn't, you know what I mean? So you could do that, but you'd have to be, you know, super good at this tool and take forever, and you wouldn't get that perfect. You'd have to go back in here again and do this one for this strap, right? And I mean, I'm actually doing a pretty good job, but you got to keep that length the same all the way around. You see, where that can kind of be tough to do, right? And you have to go keep that all the way down. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying it would take a long time to do this, and this would be, you know, obviously more accurate, but then it would be hard. It's hard to control. Okay, I'm gonna hit enter. That's about as far as I want to go. So you see that, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. Alright, so go back to the beginning here. And it's probably a good idea before I start doing all this crazy work on here that we save our work again. Okay, so I'm going to go to File, Save Scene As, and I'm going to go into 13, and let's just knock this out real quick, and I'll show you what it looks like at the very end. Then you can make your decision. Alright. So to fake it, you're never going to see both sides at the same time. You're never going to see that. So I'm mostly interested in the front and the sides, right? Prospectively. Okay? Not really too worried about the back, how that looks, just the front. Now, the back, you know, I'm going to need you guys to render the back, but, you know, again, I'll understand that the front will always look better than the back, but let's take a look and see what happens. Right, so we're going to start the bands where they started it here, okay? Just follow the reference. So I'm going to go to the front view. And this time I'm going to be a little more precise with this, okay? So I'm going to go in here and hold down the shift key and the right mouse button, go to multi-cut. I'm going to start cutting through here. Again, I'm going to click on the outside and move it and pivot it until I get exactly what I'm looking for, okay? I'm going to do the same thing here. Move out, click on it, and get that pivoted just right. Click on this guy, see where he's right here. This is good that we have that, and move that over. And I'm just kind of, and even if it's not exactly, you want to follow that edge wherever it takes you, all the way across, all the way through. You have to go all the way through. Okay. Now this beats going in there, right? One by one, or with the multi-cut tool, and trying to match those and go all the way around and get all that set up. It's just this is way faster. Okay. Then I'm going to get this piece right here. Okay. But I'm not going to worry about that because I can do that at the last. I can actually add that piece that goes around and then ties around to this one, right? So I'm just more worried about this stuff right here, like this. Okay. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to go in here and cut. If you're a little off, it's okay. Okay. Just try to make the straps even across. There we go. I'm going to do this one over here. Again, I'm off a little bit, but that's okay. Okay. Just do the best you can. Okay, across here and across here. Okay, there we go. Again, try not to be too sloppy. I'm a little sloppy here. If you make a mistake, just just go Control Z back. There we go. And start over again. And again, take your time. There's no rush with this. There you go. Whoops. If you make a mistake, you can hit the backspace. Back here. There we go. Okay. Okay. I'm just working my way down. try to be as accurate as you can. You know, I'm off a little bit, and you can move these around. Okay, here we go with this one. Alright, so we're going to start at the bottom like we did with the top. Start at the bottom, get that angle like that, and try to get really close to that, what we have there. And just follow the best you can. And if you make a mistake, hit the backspace, and you can start over again. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Okay, and that one is good. And we'll get the last one here. Okay. And then we'll work on these pieces. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's hit the Q key. And let's go in perspective mode, and let's take a look at what we have. Looks pretty good, actually. Right. And you know, if you see parts that are too wide, you know what to do. You can go into the edge, right? Click on the edge loop, and it makes a nice edge loop here like this. Very, very cool. And then what you can do is you can hold the shift key and the right mouse button and go to slide edge tool. Use your middle mouse button, and it will slide that edge. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? So if you make a mistake on the thickness of your straps, or you want to make them thinner, and that's what I want to do, make them a little thinner. Some of these are way too thick, so I'm just going to get those a little bit thinner. Here we go. Like that. Double click on it, and I'm using my middle mouse button. Like that. Middle mouse button. Just double click. And just making those. I hate when models are not accurate, I mean as far as thickness goes and width and all that stuff, and I really want to make sure this looks nice, so try to follow that as best I can. Okay, now we notice that some of these are up pretty high, you know, they're kind of going up and connecting to other pieces and stuff like that. And but right now we're just kind of focus on the way it really, I guess the way this really works is that this piece goes, so we'll start at the bottom, this piece goes up around, I think, yeah, like this, up around here, like that. So if you were really worried about it, because you're not going to see the front and the back, you could probably select this and cut those and move it up to here if you want to get that perfect ring. But right now, for what we have, I think we're okay. Okay, all right. You can also move vertices if you want to. So if you have these and you want it to look like it's going up from the side, you can just move those up like that. See, it's not going to hurt anything to make it look like it's going up, you know, from the side view. And you can make this look like it's going down. Okay? And that's what we can do to kind of, like I said, when I said faking it, that's what I mean. Okay? There we go. So you get the idea. You can do the same thing with this one too. Just give it's the illusion of the effect that matters, right? It's the illusion of the effect that really matters. If it's a good illusion and you fool people, then that's what it's all about. If you wanted to make this accurate, this can take a long time to make it like really accurate. Okay, but I tend to do stuff like this. Okay, to make it look a little more, and we can move these down too, so we can have these meet, you know, in the middle right there from the side view. So I can do that. So let's go from this X-ray view, right, of this, and you can see that we could take these and we could match these. Okay, so I could take this one in the back, right, and let's go ahead and select this guy. I'm gonna work in wireframe, and I'm gonna select that one. I'm gonna select this one, okay, in the back. And I'm gonna, yeah, that'll work right there like that. And when you do that, I can move in the front view, I can move this down to kind of go over that one. So you see it looks like something like this, and that would be accurate. But then you have two vertices over on top of each other, so you don't want to do that. You want to just above them like that. There you go, like that. Perfect. And then you would take these guys right here, marquee select that one, and marquee select this one. Okay, and we can move those up. Okay, like that, about halfway. And we can go to this one and marquee select these over here like that. Notice I'm moving it to the side, and we're going to marquee select these guys over here and these guys over here. And whoops, didn't get it. There we go. We don't want to select the front, right? And we want to move those down, and we can just touch those. There we go. And the same thing up here. So you can just go up the whole piece of wood to make it look a little more correct, you know, if that's what you're worried about. And I do want it to be, you know, look right, especially from the side view. So if you do a perspective, that would look just about right, yeah. And let's go in here. And again, this was a lot less time than if you were to go in here and manually add all these things. Okay. And then the fun part's coming. Just wait till you see what I'm going to do next. I think you're kind of getting what I'm going to do. But I'm deselect these and move these down so they just don't touch them. Just get them close. Okay, very close. And then this one will go up. Of course, this one goes up the back, right? So let's click on that. And that goes up the back like that. Who knows where it goes? You're not really going to see the back. Okay, you could probably have it go up to that if you wanted to. Just to make it look like it's doing something, going somewhere. Again, don't overlap. Don't do that. Keep it away. And I overlapped here. That's not good. So I'm going to have to move that guy. Let's move these down. I went too far. So I'm going to hit the W key, move that down a little bit. There we go. That's good. So that looks good. Did we get all the way? Let's go do these on the bottom. One couple more left. Okay. And we'll move those up. And again, don't go past each other. You can have them close to touching, but not quite. And then we're going to move these down. All the way down there. We go. Great. Okay, cool. Alright, this won't work on everything, but it does work pretty good. And there's another part in here. We've got this really strange little knot or whatever that is going on at the very, very bottom. And we can basically go in there and add, now at this point we can basically go in there and add this ourselves. It kind of ties in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and go into the multi-cut tool and just do this manually. Okay, so I'm going to start over here, like that guy right there. Come around like this. Okay. And kind of go down to here like this. And hit enter. Here we go. And I'm going to do the same over here. I'm going to start over here. This piece like that. And I'm going to cut right there. And enter. Perfect. Like that. And then this piece over here. Come around this way. Let's go up a little higher maybe. Click on this. And let's come in pretty high and then around like that. And then do the same thing. Try to get the same whoops, I don't want to do that. Go back. I hit the backspace and then I'm going to hit enter. I got to hit enter and then I can start over again. Otherwise it'll start where it'll continue going until you stop it. And then we're going to go into that right there like that. So that looks, so it looks like it's finished and stuff is being tucked in and you know, that kind of thing. So that works really well. And then we've got the end here, which is kind of hard to do, where we got the wrap that starts right there. Okay. Well, with that one, that's a little tougher, because what we'll probably do is start over here somewhere. We have to have somewhere to start. So we'll start right here, and then we'll click on this, and then we'll click, and then we'll go into here. Okay. And we'll click on enter. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click right here where it's going to start. Click that and that. And let's hit the backspace. I'm going to try to keep that straight. Here we go. And hit enter. There we go. So I cut that piece. So that'll work. And then in here, up here, same kind of thing. We've got pieces like coming out here like that. So I'm going to try to get that set up too. Click on that and that. And coming around here, something like that. And we'll cross it, right? We're going to cross into the back here. And cross over somewhere back here. And click on that. Hit enter. There we go. And we'll do the same thing. Alright, so now we're going to go over here and start over here and try to keep that same width that we had before all the way around. Do the best you can. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, obviously. And we'll break it off here. There we go. So there's one strap, and then we can do the other strap that's kind of hanging on over here, and we'll pull that out, and that will just be kind of something like that. Whoops, we can't have it in space like that. Go back and click. You got to snap it to something. There we go. All right, there's that. Okay, cool. So we're running out of time, so we need to go ahead and wrap this up, and we'll go into part 5, and we're gonna go ahead and I'll show you what we're gonna do next. All right, I'll see you in the next part.